She's not even wearing heels. Are we really letting her walk across the stage like that? That was the first thing I heard when I stepped into the family photo tent after my graduation ceremony. The voice came from my Aunt Carol, but the smirk on my mother's face told me she agreed. I looked down at my shoes, plain black flats. No, they weren't designer, but they'd gotten me through 2 part-time jobs and 4 years of lectures without once falling apart. Well, my mother added, sipping a mimosa, it's not like she went to a real school. I had just walked off the stage with high honors, summa cum laude, and they were laughing about my shoes. Amanda, of course, was standing front and center in a coral bodycon dress that probably cost more than my entire semester. She was holding the bouquet they gave her, not me. And she wasn't even graduating. I'm just glad we didn't waste another 80 grand, Mom added under her breath, loud enough that I could hear. Don't be mean, someone whispered, but nobody looked at me. No one told her to stop. They didn't see the 4 years I spent commuting, taking online classes during graveyard shifts, eating cereal for dinner while Amanda flew back from Paris. Amanda got the private dorm. Amanda got the internship in New York that they paid for. I got FAFSA, a bus pass, and silence. And now, on the day that was supposed to be mine, they had hijacked it for her again. Dad clapped her shoulder and said, "You're still the shining one in this family." I was standing 2 feet away. I didn't even get a nod. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Because if I opened my mouth, I wasn't sure what would come out. And I refused to cry in front of them. I smiled instead, small, tight. Then I started to walk away, slow, careful steps in those not real school flats. That's when I heard Amanda's voice behind me. She's probably heading back to the Career Center, she said, laughing, to ask them how to make a resume that hides the fact she went to state. Another round of laughter followed. I kept walking, across the lawn, past the photo booths, past the table where they handed out alumni pins and plastic champagne flutes. I didn't even care that I still had my cap on crooked. I just needed to breathe. Then someone tapped my arm. "Excuse me, are you Natalie Tran?" I turned, startled. A man in a navy sport coat and glasses stood there, holding a folder. His expression was neutral, but focused, professional. "I'm Marcus Boone," he said, offering his hand. "From Brelin and Hartwell. Do you have a moment?" I hesitated, unsure if this was a prank or just a cruel twist of timing, but I nodded. He opened the folder. Inside was a printed letter on thick, embossed paper. My name was at the top, so was a number. 6 figures. "We read your senior capstone. Your advisor sent it to us directly. We'd like to offer you a position, pending an interview, of course, but the starting salary is $100,000, full benefits. We're very impressed, Natalie." I blinked. My hand trembled slightly as I took the letter. Behind me, I heard someone drop their mimosa glass. Amanda's voice, no longer amused, cut the air like glass. "Wait, her? Are you serious?" Marcus looked past me at her, then back at me. Very. And for the first time that entire day, I didn't flinch. I didn't shrink. I didn't apologize for existing. I folded the letter carefully, looked Amanda dead in the eye, and said, softly but clearly, "You were right. I don't wear heels. I walk in straight lines." It didn't start with graduation. It started much earlier. With one sentence, really. One that I remember like it was tattooed behind my eyes. "She's just more delicate, Natalie. You were always the strong one." I must have been 11. Amanda had just cried her way out of helping with dinner for the 3rd night in a row, and I was elbow-deep in greasy dishes while Mom wrapped her arms around her like she'd just returned from war. Strong. They said it like it was a compliment. Like being strong meant I didn't need help or affection or room to fall apart. But strength, when forced, becomes a kind of silence, a hiding place where you teach yourself not to ask for anything, because you've already been told you don't deserve it. By high school, the pattern was carved into the bone. Amanda got cheerleading fees, private SAT tutoring, a new car for her sweet 16. I got good grades, a library card, and a job at the grocery store 2 blocks from our house. They didn't ask me if I wanted to do extracurriculars. I was too responsible for that. When our dad lost his job during Amanda's senior year, they were terrified she wouldn't get into the art school in Boston. So I stepped in. I picked up more shifts. I canceled a campus tour I'd saved all year to attend. They didn't ask me to. I just knew it had to be done. It always had to be done. I remember one morning, coming home from a 6 a.m. opening shift and hearing Amanda yell from upstairs about her passport photos not being artsy enough for her Paris portfolio. I was holding a stack of utility bills in one hand, and in the other, my acceptance letter to UCLA, unopened. I knew what it said. I'd already decided I wouldn't go. They never knew I got in. Instead, I enrolled at the local state school, took a full class load, and worked nights at a 24-hour diner to pay rent on a one-bedroom basement apartment with no windows. They said Amanda was artistic, sensitive, visionary. They said I was practical. And yet, even as I sacrificed year after year, I kept hoping that maybe if I did enough, gave enough, proved enough, one day they'd see me the way they saw her. Not as the one who holds the camera, but the one who matters. That day never came. Not when I covered Dad's medical bills with my own savings while Amanda posted photos from Greece. Not when I was the only one who stayed with Mom at the hospital while Amanda said she couldn't handle the smell of bleach and suffering. They never thanked me. But they always said, "You're so good with crisis, Natalie." I became the crisis handler, the silent daughter, the fallback plan. When Amanda forgot her credit card in Florence, I wired her money before Mom even finished texting me. When Dad was diagnosed with diverticulitis and the insurance copay hit hard, I didn't wait for them to ask. I dipped into my savings, the one I'd been building slowly, dollar by dollar, for a writing workshop I dreamed of attending. It was always that way. No requests, no acknowledgement, just an unspoken agreement. I give, they take. And every time I told myself, this is what family does. But deep down, I think I just wanted to be chosen. There was a moment once when I thought it might finally happen. It was the day Amanda called me crying because she'd lost her job in New York. She was behind on rent. She was scared. I let her stay with me. In my tiny apartment, she brought 5 suitcases and a silk robe she never washed. She used my face cream without asking, left dishes in the sink, and called me Mother Teresa with a smirk like she knew what she was doing. But figured I'd take it anyway. And I did, because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I showed up for her like this, she'd finally see me. As more than a backup plan. But when she moved out 6 weeks later, into a loft she found with help from our cousin's fiancé, she didn't even leave a note. Not a thank you, not a goodbye. Just took her things and blocked me on Venmo. When I told Mom, she sighed inside and said, "Well, Amanda's always been impulsive. She probably didn't mean anything by it. Don't take it so personally, Natalie." Personally? I'd paid her groceries, held her hair while she sobbed over that married guy she wouldn't stop texting, and given up the only quiet space I had, and somehow I was being too sensitive? That was the turning point. I didn't scream, I didn't slam doors, but something inside me hardened, not into hate, but into clarity. I stopped waiting for the praise that would never come. I stopped defending them to myself. I started writing again, late at night, in silence, not for a degree or for a job, just for me. And eventually, one of those papers, a thesis on economic resilience among adult children of financially dependent parents, caught the attention of my senior advisor. She asked if she could pass it along to a few colleagues in the industry. I said yes, quietly, without telling anyone. Because for once, I wanted to do something that didn't have to be shared, split, or sacrificed. I didn't know it at the time, but that moment, that paper, it was the first stone in the foundation I was building beneath their feet. And they had no idea they were standing on it. 3 weeks after graduation, I got the text. Family dinner. Friday at 6. Amanda's new job. No, congrats, Natalie. No mention of the job I just accepted, a 6-figure offer from a firm that had read my work, not Amanda's resume written by a cousin with Canva. I wasn't going to go, but I did, because even after everything, there was still that voice in the back of my mind, whispering maybe this time will be different. They held the dinner at Leona's, the Italian place they only go to when someone in the family does something important. Last time was Amanda's solo show, the one Mom called her arrival. I showed up 10 minutes early, sat at the edge of the long table, sipped water, and reminded myself not to expect anything. They came in together, all laughter and perfume. Mom in a silky blue wrap dress, Dad in the one blazer he only wears when there's press around. Amanda wore white. She always does when she wants attention. She walked straight to the center seat, leaned over the table and said, "I've decided to accept the gallery position. They're sending me to London." Everyone clapped. Someone even whistled. I smiled, then went quiet again. As the waiter brought wine, I reached into my purse, pulled out the offer letter Marcus Boone had given me at graduation, and slid it across to Mom. Just a quiet gesture. No speech. She glanced down. Didn't even touch it. Just skimmed the header and pushed it back toward me without looking up. "Don't start that now," she said, her voice sharp but controlled. "Tonight's about Amanda." I blinked. "It's a job offer. I thought you'd be proud." I said, "Not now, Natalie." And just like that, I wasn't a daughter again. I was a disruption. Amanda laughed into her wine. "Oh, come on, don't make this about you again. You always do this. One little win and suddenly you want a parade." I felt the burn start behind my ribs, but I didn't get up. Not yet. Then Dad, who'd barely said a word all evening, leaned back and said, "We already invested in one daughter. Let's not act like State College is a comeback story." There it was, in front of everyone. The unspoken truth, finally spoken. I wasn't the golden child. I was the safety net, the fallback, the girl who knew her place. And I think something cracked in me right then. Not in a violent way, in a clear way. Like when you finally understand that it's not worth trying to fix something that never wanted to hold you to begin with. The table went quiet for a moment, just forks clinking, wine glasses tapping. Someone at the far end whispered something I couldn't hear, and Amanda laughed again, louder this time, like she wanted to fill the silence I'd left behind. I folded the letter carefully, slipped it back into my purse, and smiled. Not the kind of smile they taught me to use. A different one, smaller, realer. Then Mom stood up with her wine. "Let's toast to Amanda," she said, raising her glass. "She's always made us proud, always done things with such vision, such creativity." Her eyes met mine for a second, not by choice, but by accident. She blinked, then turned away and added, "Some people are just born to shine." I didn't raise my glass. And I guess that was my second offense, because when the bill came, Dad slid it toward me. "You're doing well now, right?" he said. "This one's on you." He didn't say it with cruelty. He said it like it was a fact, like I should feel honored. Amanda smirked again. "It's the least you can do. I mean, you got your little job offer, right?" I stared at the bill. It wasn't even about the money. It was about the principle. I stood up, quietly. Not a single chair scraped. I took out my wallet, peeled off 2 20s and placed them gently under my untouched plate. "This should cover my water," I said. Then I looked at each of them, slowly, one by one. No anger, just clarity. "Enjoy your night," I said, "and your toast." As I turned to leave, Mom grabbed my arm. Not hard, just enough to try to stop me. "Natalie, don't make a scene." I leaned in, so only she could hear me. "This isn't a scene. It's just me choosing not to sit at tables where I'm served scraps and expected to say thank you." Then I walked out. No one followed me. Not even Amanda, who always needed to be the last word in any room. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want one more word from any of them. I got into my car, pulled out of the parking lot, and didn't look in the rearview mirror once. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that something had already started moving behind the curtain. Because while they were busy planning Amanda's big send-off to London, I'd been quietly preparing something else. Something that would turn their champagne toast into a reckoning. I didn't hear from them for almost a month after the dinner. No "how are you?" No "sorry if we were harsh." Not even a passive-aggressive emoji. Silence. It was strange how peaceful it felt. The quiet used to suffocate me. Now it felt like air. But then, one Thursday morning, I got a call from Marcus Boone, the man who gave me my job offer. "Hey, Natalie," he said, calm but cautious. "Do you have a moment?" My stomach tightened. I stepped away from my desk. "Yeah, what's going on?" "There's been a complication. Your name is attached to a grant file, one your family recently tried to revoke." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" He continued. "Apparently, your name was listed as co-owner on a home equity agreement. They're saying you were just a co-signer, that you didn't contribute financially, but the paper trail shows otherwise." I sat down slowly, and it hit me. The house. The one they mortgaged for Amanda's college tuition. The one they used my name on because at the time, I was the only one with stable income and decent credit. I hadn't thought much of it. I didn't even remember signing anything. I was 21 and exhausted and just wanted to help. Now they were trying to remove me from the deed. Quietly. Erase me like a typo in a document they thought no one would reread. But here's the thing, Marcus said, lowering his voice. Your signature's on the original equity agreement, which means legally they can't sell or refinance that property without your written consent. I didn't respond. I was too busy remembering Mom's voice the week Amanda moved to London. We might sell the old house, just to simplify. She said it like it was an afterthought, like they were doing me a favor by letting me know. Marcus cleared his throat. Would you like our legal team to handle this? I paused. Then something inside me, that old bruised part of me, stood up straight for the first time. No, I said. I'd like to handle it myself. 3 days later, I walked into the title office. I'd made an appointment. Quiet, professional. And when I arrived, I wasn't alone. Because I'd requested a witness. Someone neutral. Someone they wouldn't recognize, but who'd be recording the entire meeting for transparency. They didn't know I'd learned how to protect myself. Mom and Dad walked in 20 minutes late. Amanda didn't show. I stood when they entered. Didn't offer a hug. Didn't offer anything. We sat at the long table. The lawyer opened the file. Miss Tran, he began, your parents are requesting the removal of your name from the co-ownership documentation related to the property located at. I raised a hand calmly. I'm aware, I said, then turned to my parents. Before you go further, I have something I'd like to submit. I opened my folder and pulled out 2 documents. One, a notarized letter from my former landlord, confirming I had paid Amanda's rent for 4 months. The other, bank statements showing monthly transfers to cover utilities during the time she lived with me. I slid them forward, then sat back. They both stared at the papers. Dad cleared his throat. I don't see what this has to do with the house. I tilted my head. It has everything to do with the house, because the only reason your credit stayed clean enough to get that second loan was because I was paying your debt while Amanda was drinking rosé on rooftops. The lawyer glanced at me, then back at them. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Because the air had changed, the balance had shifted, and everyone at that table felt it. Mom stiffened. Natalie, this isn't about that. We just thought simplifying things would be cleaner. Amanda's overseas now. She can't manage property from another country? I finished for her. Strange. I thought the point was she wasn't on the title. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I leaned in slightly. My voice didn't rise. It never had to. You used my name, my income, my stability, and now that I have something of my own, you want to cut me off the only thing you ever let me touch. Dad looked like he wanted to speak but didn't dare interrupt, so I continued. I co-own that house. I helped pay it off when Amanda was in Europe pretending to be a starving artist. I helped keep the lights on when your retirement plan fell apart. I bailed out her credit card without asking questions, and you didn't thank me. Not once. You erased me. The room was silent, save for the quiet scratch of the legal assistant's pen on her notepad. I'm not here to fight, I added, but I'm also not here to disappear. So let me make this simple for you. I pulled out one more paper. This, I said, is a legal notice blocking the sale or refinancing of the property without my consent, effective immediately. Mom's hand twitched toward the folder. I placed mine over it gently. Read it later, I said. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and turned to the lawyer. I won't be signing anything today, and if this comes up again, please route all communication through my firm's counsel. You'll find their card attached. Dad stood as well, angry now. This is betrayal, Natalie. No, I said, turning to face him fully. Betrayal is what you did when you called my degree a fluke in front of a table full of strangers. Betrayal is putting everything in Amanda's name and pretending like I was a placeholder. I reached for the door. Consider this the last time I show up where I'm not invited. And then I left. No slamming chairs, no raised voices, just a quiet, irreversible shift in the power dynamic, one they never saw coming. Later that night I got a call. It wasn't from my parents. It wasn't from Amanda. It was from the firm. Apparently, someone had tried to contact my manager, anonymously, with concerns about my resume, about my ethics. They sent screenshots, a burner Gmail, a few unverifiable allegations that read like bad fan fiction. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I really laughed. because they thought I was still playing defense. What they didn't realize is that I'd already filed the original property documents, the rent transfers, the legal declaration, and a full narrative of events, signed and notarized, into a private file my firm kept on record for conflicts of interest. I'd protected myself before they ever knew to aim. The fallout didn't come all at once. It came in quiet shifts, the kind that unfold in emails no one expects you to read, in meetings you're not invited to, but hear about anyway. 2 weeks after I walked out of that title office, I heard from a friend of a friend that Amanda had flown back from London early. No announcement. No airport photos. Just a quiet disappearance from social media and a deactivated LinkedIn page. Turns out, the gallery that hired her had done a routine background check before extending her visa, and found the Harvard certificate on her resume was a free online course she'd never completed. The internship in New York? She never made it past week 2. Left off the payroll, fired for ghosting a curator after a bad review. Apparently, someone had emailed them copies of her real transcripts, along with confirmation of financial transfers from me. I hadn't done it. I didn't have to, but I wasn't the only one Amanda had burned. I didn't smile when I heard, I didn't cheer. I just sat on my couch with tea that night and felt relief. For once, I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. For once, the truth did all the talking. My parents called the next day. I let it go to voicemail. The first message was from Mom, stilted, cautious. "We heard about Amanda. Just wondering if you knew anything. We'd like to talk." The second one came a day later, from Dad. He didn't try to hide the panic. "Natalie, this house, your name's still on the documents. We're trying to apply for a financial extension and, look, we didn't mean for things to go this far. Can we meet? Just talk?" But I didn't want to talk. Not after everything. They didn't reach out when I was drowning in night shifts and microwave noodles. They didn't show up when I got the offer of a lifetime. They erased me. Until they needed me. So I sat with that silence. And this time, I kept it. A few days later, I received an email from the bank. It was a formal notification. My parents had applied for a loan restructuring and listed the property as sole collateral. Except they couldn't proceed, because one signature was missing, mine. I didn't respond, and I didn't need to. Instead, I forwarded the email to my firm's legal department and asked them to confirm receipt, just to create a record. No drama, no threats, just paper. Later that week, my manager pulled me aside. "I wanted to tell you," she said. "I got a strange call from a man pretending to be a former professor of yours, but he didn't know your graduation year or your major." I waited. He left a number, but we traced it back to a burner account. We reported it. "Just so you know, you're protected here." I nodded. "Thank you." Because here's the thing. When you spend a lifetime being underestimated, you learn to make your moves where people aren't looking. And by the time they do look, it's too late. I heard through mutuals that Amanda had started waitressing again, that she'd moved in with a college friend in Queens and deleted all her entrepreneur bios from her social media. I also heard that the house, my name still on it, was taken off the market. The loan didn't go through. The refinancing fell apart. And since the tax lien they ignored 2 years earlier had finally caught up, it was heading toward foreclosure. I didn't celebrate, but I did sit on my balcony that Friday night, wine in hand, and watch the city lights flicker through the skyline. Not because I needed revenge, but because I finally had silence without shame. The house may have been in both our names, but for the first time my story didn't belong to them anymore. They tried to reach me again, weeks later, this time with a letter. Handwritten, shaky. Not quite an apology. Not quite a request. It was Mom's handwriting. The same cursive she used to leave notes in my lunchbox as a kid. But the words felt different now. She asked if I could reconsider the paperwork. Said they missed me and that things got out of hand. She said they never meant to take me for granted. I read it, folded it once, and placed it gently into a drawer. I didn't tear it up. I didn't mail anything back. Because when someone finally sees your worth, but only after everything's broken, the only thing more powerful than answering is not answering at all. There's a small maple tree outside my window. I didn't plant it, it was just there one morning, barely a sprout, pushing through the cracks in the concrete below the fire escape. Now it's taller than my railing. It's not supposed to grow there, the soil's too thin, the light too scattered, but it does anyway. And I guess, in some strange way, that's how I feel now. I didn't get a picture-perfect ending. No family reunion, no teary apologies on a couch bathed in golden light. What I got was solitude. And strangely, that was enough. I stopped chasing closure from people who only showed up when they needed something, stopped explaining myself to people who already made up their minds. Instead, I started showing up for me. Little things. Buying flowers for my kitchen table, turning off my phone after 7 p.m., writing for myself, not for anyone else's approval. I used to believe that healing would feel loud, like fireworks or applause, but it didn't. It felt like this: breathing easier in the space you used to hold your breath. Making dinner without hearing their voices in your head. Waking up without checking who texted first. The truth is, some people will never see your worth, not because it isn't there, but because it doesn't serve them to acknowledge it. That doesn't make it less real. You are not defined by what they refuse to see. Sometimes I think about who I used to be. The girl sitting at family dinners, folding herself small so others could shine. The one who said it's fine even when it wasn't. The one who gave and gave and gave and called it love. I don't hate her. I thank her. She was the bridge I had to walk across to become the woman I am now. And if you're watching this, maybe you're standing on your own bridge. Maybe you've been made to feel like background noise in a story you helped build. Like your success is an inconvenience. Like your worth has an expiration date tied to someone else's spotlight. If that's you, I want to say something. You don't have to prove your pain to anyone. You don't need their applause to validate your value. And you are not selfish for choosing peace over performance. Walk away if you need to. Not to hurt them, but to finally stop hurting yourself. The people who only notice your absence when they need you are not the ones who deserve your presence. You are not here to earn space. You are the space. You are the light they refuse to see. And one day, when you least expect it, someone will look at you and not ask why you walked away. They'll ask how you ever stayed so long. If this story echoed something in you, if you've ever been erased, overlooked, or told to shrink, I see you. And you're not alone. Drop a comment. Share your story. You never know who needs to hear it. And if you know someone who's been holding it in too long, send this to them. We rise quietly. We rebuild in whispers. But make no mistake, we rise.